Well, it was always going to be a hugely significant game between Ireland and South Africa because the winner, barring accidents, will play the All Blacks in the quarterfinals. So, Ireland prevailed, 13 points to 8. Jeff Wilson and Mills Miliaina with me. And Mills, did the right team win?
I think the right team did win. I think in terms, what a fantastic game. I mean, the atmosphere, just watching it and sort of how it sort of played out, and the pressure, the intensity, forcing mistakes and things like that. I think the right team did win. I think looking into it, before the game we spoke about that. We all picked Ireland, to win. They've been really clinical, but there's also signs there that they haven't quite been put under pressure like they were last night against the Springboks.
Sure. Jeff, very rarely we talk about a Springbok team that are missing their penalties, and they left, I think, 11 points on the tee, and in the end that cost them.
Yeah, it was interesting, wasn't it? The fact that you look at a Springbok side, and particularly the way they played, even the way they started, they had a real intent. They wanted to try and go to the edges. I thought Damien Valemsa was outstanding in the counter-attack. Mane Lebok did a really good job of igniting their attack. They probably played more than I expected them to. Their line-out defence was outstanding. On the other side, I thought Ireland's line-out was dysfunctional. I think for both of these teams, I'll look at it and go, you know what, we probably didn't play our best game, but I think that was the indication of what a knockout game's probably going to be like. The fact that that's the sort of intensity, and that's how hard it's going to be to score tries. So for me, the big surprise is the fact that both of these two teams, they turned down points, they turned down penalty scoring opportunities. I was surprised by that.
One of the big talking points building up to the game was the 7-1 split on the Springbok bench. How did that pan out?
Well, they probably would have liked to sort of have made more input, and when you go to that sort of level, 7 on the bench, you are going to use them, and they've been very successful at using those sort of guys. I suppose the big part is they did turn down points and also missing points. So you've spoken about it before. Do you bring Pollard in when Williamson at the back played really well? LeBox, getting his team going forward. So where does he sort of fit in that sort of space when it does come to knockout time? I think both teams have realised they're going to be up regardless of the quarterfinal. They're going to be up against two very good teams. So regardless of that result, who comes first and second, they'll know once they get to the quarterfinal they have to go to another level. I was more interested in the fact of, well, under these circumstances, highly anticipated game, great matchups, and is there signs there where there's an opportunity for other teams to go, actually this is an area where we can actually target them, considering both teams have played relatively I suppose weaker opposition. So there's some real exciting stuff, coming up when it comes to the quarterfinal. It just, emulates the fact that this side of the draw is absolutely, as it is, it's going to be so hard to get out there, and we still don't know who's going to win. And we've got the All Blacks in here. France are under a bit of pressure with the loss of their captain. It's creating, great talking points, which is fantastic.
Will there be a minor panic, Jeff, re the goal kicking, and will they bring Handré Pollard in because of that?
Yeah, great question. I don't think they'll bring him into the starting lineup. I wouldn't be surprised because I'm not sure they needed the 7-1 split. I'm not sure they need 7 forwards. Look, the Springboks showed once again how good they can be, but for me, they didn't get a huge amount of impact outside of the set-piece play. They didn't get a lot for me. They missed opportunities in this game. I'm not surprised if Pollard does come back in, because ultimately that's been the secret of their success in Rugby World Cups, is the fact they've continued to build up 3 after 3 after 3. If you make mistakes, Ireland gave them plenty of penalty scoring opportunities. They chose not to kick them. I was surprised by that, but now it comes down to the fact that what we look forward to, in all likelihood, you're talking about it, the All Blacks are going to take on Ireland. This is a grudge match. This is, the All Blacks have got a couple of games to get through, but this is a grudge match. If we remember what happened last year when they came down to New Zealand and they beat New Zealand, beat the All Blacks in New Zealand for the first time in a series, it's a remarkable stage now that's been set. I'm actually wondering whether the Springboks, Nisbo, aren't too unhappy about playing the French, most likely without Antoine Dupont.
Yeah, good point. Talking about the possible quarterfinal between the All Blacks and Ireland, what influence is Joe Schmidt going to have here?
Oh, he'll be massive. I mean, imagine Peter, he's going to bring out there. I mean, in terms of what he knows about certain individuals that he's sort of been involved with, particularly with I suppose his development, coming forward and what they can do. He'll be massive. And to your point, this is a grudge match. But I think there would have been a grudge match regardless of whether they're playing South Africa as well, because they're on the back end of a hiding in Twickenham. So you've got the All Blacks now sitting there thinking, well, here we are, we're going to play either of the two. there's lots to play for when you're playing them. You know, there's lots of motivations in terms of the fact that they've been on, you know, on the wrong side of the results. But Joe Schmidt is going to be a massive factor, because you don't use a guy like that who's been in that environment and heavily involved in not just the Irish team, but the development of Ireland rugby. He'll play a big part in this.
And the Kiwi factor too, Jeff, the three Kiwis in the back line for Ireland, it's quite remarkable, isn't it?
They've developed them well, haven't they, Ireland? The fact that these guys were Super Rugby players in New Zealand at best. Jamison Gibson Park wasn't even a starting Super Rugby player, but clearly they're doing something right in Ireland, and they've done it well over the last few years. Joe Schmidt started it, Andy Farrell's continued that on. They've got experience in great areas. Look, they're an outstanding side. I think what they have done, and I think that game actually set the bar for the World Cup.
Okay, quickly, boys. If you were Ian Foster watching that game last night, what would your initial thoughts be?
I tell you what, I think you'll know exactly what you need to do in terms of how much intensity, how high the intensity needs to be if you want to compete against those two sides. And if I'm looking at that, realistically, both forward packs are outstanding. I don't think you're going to outmuscle both of those sides, either of those teams going forward. So for me, if I'm Ian Foster, he'll know he'll have to play to our strengths. We'll have to play with the ball. We'll have to be disciplined. All the things we know are successful at Rugby World Cups.
And Mills, what do you think Ian Foster would have thought?
Exactly that. You play a higher tempo game. Our strength is there, the unbroken play. But what we lacked, and we almost got there in that first game against France, was the accuracy. And if they keep to that intensity that no one can stop them, we're not as big, you know, in terms of fronting them physically, you know, going to sort of T-boning players. We need to play an expansive game, but that comes with a bit of risk as well. And the risk was that you may possibly lose if you're not as accurate as what we wanted to be against the French, that you lose possession, you get the teams back in the game, you're going into set piece. I don't think we like that. And so I think there's plenty there to like. If Ian Foster's team can almost tempt the other team to playing in terms of the same style that we played.
So there we are. It was a genuine blockbusting game, and it certainly lived up to that reputation.